Welcome everyone to the Spark the Genius show. I'm your host Spark the Genius, and again we have Nimrod Vromen. Welcome Nimrod.
Thank you.
This is the first interview I've done since our last interview, so
Oh, cool.
basically this is just the Nimrod show now. I'm still trying to get my act together to upload my old interviews from last year, but I make a special exception for you to actually do these and then post them. So that's exciting. When I post the next ones, people will be like, "What's all this?" But those are like old ones, but you're like current. So that's good. And then I'm just trying to turn on my ring light here, which I guess maybe I didn't plug in, so that's fine. But that's how we do these things. So I think last time I probably said what the date was, so that because we're talking about Israel and things change every day, and so people might want to know what's happening. So today is June 21st. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. And what have we done? All right. Well, what's new with you? Your last time we talked about your book, and then I don't know. Is the book ready now? Like, what is happening? Are you on your book tour now?
Well, when we spoke, it was in final editing stages, and I was in the middle of full-time reserves duty in the middle of the war. And at one point, when things sort of balanced out in Gaza a little bit, I was released from full-time service. And everything happened. The book just was ready for publication, and it will be published on July 1st, Prompting Happiness. It's on Amazon already, and there's a website for it called promptinghappiness.com, which is like a little community that I can speak about later. I managed to finish negotiating with my law firm to relieve myself of the equity in the law firm and to start new endeavors that I wanted to embark on before the war, but the war sort of drove me to just make a change in my life. So I started two companies and an NGO. One of them I'm full-time at, one of them I sort of like ideated and seeded, and the NGO is something that I want to do for Israel to change, to sort of like elevate it a little bit and help new competent leaders get into the public and government sectors on all political sides of the political spectrum. That's the idea. So yeah, a lot's happened. Everything's happened. That's
All right. Well, now you make me look even worse because I've done nothing since we last talked, and you've started like 50 companies and fought in a war and all that. But
I
that's
know
okay.
that in the last 3 minutes you released at least 3 or 4 gigabytes of space in your.
That's true. So before we started recording, I was like, you know what? I think my computer it only has 2 gigs left of space, and this Riverside program records on my computer. I'm like, let me just drag some files onto a hard drive. So. Yeah, and I said it was very satisfying. I was like, "Ooh, this one's going to be 3 gigs," and you said, "Oh, and yeah, I like filing emails." So we have similar tastes in.
I thought it was impressive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
All right, so fine. I've moved a couple of files. You've started a couple of companies. We're basically on the same wavelength. Do you want to know what? Just before we talk about all your important stuff, do you want to know what I've been up to for the past day?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I was background acting yesterday, and I started at 1 p.m., but they didn't release us until after midnight, so I didn't go to bed till 2 a.m., and that's why I'm tired. And then I woke up this morning, I had an ear cleaning appointment, and I was a bit late for that, but she cleaned my ears. My ears are always itchy. This has been like for decades now. I'm always like sticking a pen in my ear or Q-tips, or lately I've been pouring hydrogen peroxide in, and she said that's all bad. It's irritating the ear. And she said, I don't actually have any wax in there. There was one part in one ear. She said, way at the back there's a piece. And then she just blasted it with water and got that out. But she says, don't touch my ears anymore. I can just put in mineral oil if I want, and that could soothe it. But otherwise, don't do anything.
Well, any other day of the week, I would have no idea how to respond to that. But 5 minutes before this podcast started, and now I don't feel at all embarrassed to say the following. So my wife just did a full wax on my ear hairs here as well. So
wow.
both our ears were treated today, all 4 ears. So I was in a lot of pain. I was upstairs yelling and swearing.
This is why I want a wife, because like 20 years ago I had a girlfriend. She was looking at my ears close. She's like, "Oh, you got hair in your..." I'm like, "What?" So she plucked some out, But now that she did that, I'm fully aware of everything on my ears. Like before, I'd never even thought about it. But now, if I feel like one little thing, I'm like, it drives me crazy. And I don't have a girlfriend to go in there with a tweezer or to wax my ears or anything. So this is why I need a wife. That should be in
Yeah.
my dating profile, looking for somebody to wax my ears.
Plus, they need to be a bit, in the preferences. They need to be like a tad sadistic to
Yeah.
enjoy it, right? To come back to it.
Yeah, yeah. I think I played that game with my ex. I'd be like, ow, and she'd be like, yeah, that was for like, ignoring me at dinner or whatever. So it was this weird little game. But then my last sort of pseudo girlfriend, now I'm remembering, she was like an esthetician. So she actually had a light and she would go and look in there. And I should have just married her. Like, what was, because most people, even women probably don't want to do that or don't know anything about that.
Yep, I get all of that done. That's outsourced, and she's
Oh,
responsible for
yeah.
that on the front.
That is the thing that I've realized. Like, wives are, once you get to know them and you have an intimate relationship, there's stuff they can do that no one else is going to do. Like, I can't just go somewhere and say, hey, can you see if I have any blackheads in my back that you could squeeze out or whatever? Like, but a girlfriend will like care about every little aspect. Oh, that you've got a hair between your eyebrows. I'm going to take care of that. I remember my ex. She said, I know your face like nobody else. Like she could tell like everything. So
Yeah, that
that's
a good memory and raising our daughters, all things that she's far better at doing than I am.
Yes, that's the thing too. I keep getting afraid. Like, what if I have kids one day and I don't know what to do? But if I find the right wife, she'll just take care of it and she'll tell me what if I need to go do something, and that'll be it.
It's a statement. I know that in my relationship it works that way because we actually conversed about it to start off with. I have
Mm.
another friend who's one of my best friends whose wife is a plastic surgeon, and he's a teacher. So the roles are completely reversed there,
Mm.
and he's a physics teacher. But being a plastic surgeon, that's a sort of like job that enables us. I think it's called sublimation of a psychotic tendency to cut up bodies. So now you're a doctor, so you can do it licensed, right? That's when you're a
Mm.
surgeon. Otherwise, you'd be Jeffrey Dahmer, but now you're cutting up body. So she's like totally fine doing anything on his body, cleaning up, whatever, because whatever she sees at work is far worse. So that's a constant. They'll always take care of this.
Well,
Better than
yeah, now you've just raised the bar. Now I need to get a plastic surgeon wife.
yeah.
Oh my God, I just got to start hanging around at hospitals or something. That's what I've
Yeah.
been telling people lately. Like a lot of women are like, all the guys on dating apps, they suck. How do I meet a guy? And even for myself, I realized, well, yeah, like the type of people I want to meet probably aren't on dating apps. They're out. Like if you want to meet somebody interesting, like somebody who likes books, you go to the library. If you want to meet a doctor, hang out at hospitals or medical conferences or whatever. Like, or if you like sports, go to do sports stuff. So I think that's the good idea. Yeah.
I have advice on that, by the way. You were awake till 2 a.m. last night, and I have a weekly my thing. And it's also in the theory for happiness in the book. I commit to dancing as part of my identities in life, and I dance salsa, and I do it every Thursday at least from 11 a.m. to 4 p. It's from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. Every week, and sometimes in the middle of the week, I sneak one in, and we go to conferences or congresses abroad for weekends just to dance. The dancing scene is very good to find and develop relationships. The social dancing scene, Latin social dancing, for actually reasons that people don't really wouldn't really know if they weren't in it. The first reason is that it's a community and you actually learn something together there. It's not like a nightclub where you're dancing alone. You're actually learning the moves together.
Hmm.
The second reason is far more biological, and it's for all types of relationships, romantic relationships that might evolve. The first thing you do together is dance together, and you sweat. You both sweat, and what that does is that whereas in almost every other facet of our lives, our relationships are first built on a first impression of conversation, intelligence, looks. In a nightclub where you dance together as a collaboration and you are sweating together, and that's the first thing that you do, the first bit of the due diligence that is taken care of is pheromones and smell. It's physical attraction, and it's not taken care of at the awkward moment of, hey, we've had 3 amazing dates. we speak really well together, we're connected. Now we get into the bed together and we discover if we're really attracted to each other, really. So in dancing, it's the other way around. It's like, oh, we like each other's smells. Like almost like, excuse my analogy, but you're a comedian, dogs in the park, right? You get that bit out of the way immediately, and then if you find time to converse and speak, then you can get really close, because the whole pressure of is there going to be a biological or physical connection is out the door. And it's taken out the door when you're dealing with learning salsa variations together, complicated. So I recommend that above all, and it's for everyone. I didn't know how to move at all, but I learned it, and it's relatively, social dancing is not like hip hop or jazz or stuff like that. For guys, it's actually technical, it's logical. You learn like steps and variations like you would learn a board game or something. It very much fits our attitudes. So that's it.
Yeah, that is a good tip, because I'm always getting friend zoned because I keep talking and then saying stupid things. You need to get right in there. And yeah, they have like free salsa outdoors at City Hall and stuff here in Ottawa. And I keep wanting to go. I went last summer, and there's all these women standing around looking for guys to take the lead. And they had some women volunteers there that would help you move. And I think I finally learned, oh, it's on the beat or whatever. But I've just found it very hard. And the women want you to lead. And I'm like, I'm afraid if I start and they're like, oh, you didn't do it right. I just have no idea what to do. But maybe, I mean, probably dumber people than me have done it. Like they can dance. Like, so I should just, yeah.
You got one here. You got one here. It's
Yeah.
I promise you. And the age groups in these clubs are 18 to 70. And the big clubs. Have you seen the HBO series Oz?
No.
It's about a prison. It's irreverent. It's very violent.
Yeah.
The prison's divided. The prison's divided into different groups and gangs.
Yeah.
Big salsa club, same thing. You got the high end, high level snobs. You got the high level party goers, not snobs, and then you got the beginners, which is where you want to be initially, and you sort of want to gamify it and climb up the ladder. But you also have areas for divorcees, open relationships, young singles, old singles. They all sort of like gravitate towards one another. And when
Yeah.
you get the map of the club, you can sort of like navigate it very easily. And you don't find yourself overthinking, am I doing things wrong, if you're in a section where you're at the same level as everybody else, and stuff like that. So what I like about this is, because most people, they go into a club, they get this very arbitrary, random feeling of, where am I in the club? Do I know what's going on? In salsa clubs, it's technical. It's you can really see the matrix in it. So
Wow.
there you go.
It's like the old high schools where, okay, the nerds are here and the cool guys are there or
Goth.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
goth. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. So I got to go hit some giant salsa clubs, travel the world. This is
highly
good.
advised. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. The problem is I'm going to meet a wife who actually likes doing salsa, and I have no interest in this, and so now it's going to be like, oh no. I
No,
just,
then the decision, by the way, if you want to get into it, then the decision is, and I don't think it's a decision. You have to live with it that she's going to go and dance every week or twice a week. That's non-negotiable, because people who are in this cult, and it is a bit of a cult,
Yes.
they don't. That's top priority, right? You can't then have your partner tell you, listen, I'm not comfortable with your dancing gig after you've been doing it for 15 years.
yeah, that's true. I remember like one of my first girlfriends years ago. I don't know, she wanted to try salsa dancing, and I think, or not salsa, swing dancing. And then we took a couple of classes, and she was so excited, and then I just never did it. I should have done that. And then one time I was on a bus, and I was making everybody laugh on the bus, and then I handed out my business card because there was a cute girl on the bus, and I was hoping she would message me. And she had texted me by the time I was home. And yeah, it turns out she was really into Zoosk. Is that a thing, Zoosk? Or is that a
Zouk.
dating app? Zook?
Zouk,
Yeah.
it is. Yes, Zouk
Yeah.
is another type of Latin dance. There's a few. There's a whole hierarchy. Zouk is it's more spiritual. Salsa's probably the best fit, and
Yeah.
I can explain why in a bit. But there's also bachata, which is more intimate. There's kizomba, which is like basically vertical sex.
Yeah.
But that's but salsa is the most intricate. You can have, what I tell other people, if you're really into it, and you can get into it very fast. I have friends who have converted into salsa addicts within less than half a year. You can have an entire relationship with someone in the 4 to 5 minutes of a song. because you can lead that person into challenging variations. So you face challenges together as a couple. You can obviously incorporate different levels of intimacy. And what I love the most, you can have moments of silence. There might be anger if you step on her foot or throw her into another couple. That happens a lot. But what I love the most, which I think you would most connect with, you can incorporate crap loads of humor into the dance and see and check their sense of humor as well. Like I'll open to a variation and I'll give her my hand from here. And as she reaches to grab my hand, I'll do this. I'll psych her, and you see how someone responds to that. If they're like,
Yeah.
you fully, then that's not a person you can have like, take jabs at in a long-term relationship. But
Yeah.
if, oh, I'll get you back for that, then you have a baseline for something longer. And the best thing, last thing, end of the dance. There are rules in these clubs, and they're international. So you're in Ottawa, it's gonna be the same there as it is in Tel Aviv, everywhere. End of the dance. Thank you. It was amazing dancing with you. And you part ways. You don't dance twice or three times in a row. You switch all the time so as to not create this reliance or connection that isn't created actually based on conversation. And also so that you don't lose the options to dance with other people, because if they see you just continually dancing with the same person, they won't. They might think that you're not available to dance with them. So what that does is it takes away a lot of the pressure, because you know that no matter what, in Israel, in the army in Israel, we have a saying: no asshole can stop time. Because when you're in the army, you want it to end your service. So when you're suffering, they tell you no asshole can stop time. So no asshole can stop time. The song will end, and you'll be free to do the next thing or get a drink or whatever.
All right, this is all good. Yeah, because then it's not too much like, at the end of the song, it's like, are we still gonna dance? And if the girl rejects you or not, it's like, no, we're all just moving on.
There's a rule. We gotta
Yeah.
go. That's it. It's done.
But
Yeah.
then, how do you get their info? Like, if you want to date them, like later, do you have to go up and like, here's my card?
Yeah, that's another very great question. You show commitment to salsa first. You show up to two, three, four, five events. Well, I guess if I have to be very specific, if you're abroad, and then you tell people, listen, I'm here for one night, and whatever happens, happens. But if you're going in your own hometown, I wouldn't go to actually start anything until I got into salsa really and showed that I'm committed to the thing. Because for everyone there who's there a lot, that's the top priority, is there. So when you start something, you have to realize that you're probably I'm gonna PG this. You're probably starting to urinate where you drink, so so you got to do it carefully.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, because I'm sure they all talk to each other, and this is the guy
Oh,
that's
yeah,
just here to hit on people and all of that.
that's right.
All
They
right, so
can.
that makes sense, because I think for anything like that, like if you go to a run club and you want to meet someone, if you keep showing up, you show that you're there for the right reasons. You're not just like, hey, I met you here. Can I get your number?
Yeah, and before you know it, salsa will be the thing for you, and the whole other thing will be a side note. Trust me,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
really
Maybe it's
fun.
like, all right. This is the thing. That's my new thing. And I think there are salsa things happening all the time. So I'll just have to start going to some. All right. Well, next time we talk, I should be married to a salsa woman. So that's exciting.
Yeah, salsera.
A salsera. Oh
Yeah.
man, maybe I got to learn Spanish too. That would help. Uh, and then I can go to Costa Rica and impress everybody. Oh man. Another idea I had was to start a show where I interview Jewish singles, because there's so many people in all these Facebook groups, and I'm like, hey, maybe I could just sort of pick a few and say, here, I'll do like a 5-minute interview with you. Tell me like what you're looking for, what you're like, and then just post that, and that could be my contribution to bringing Jews together.
That's well, you have a place reserved for you in heaven when that every time you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a group. We got groups, Facebook groups here, where people who are already single in their late 30s or 40s are posting their bios. So I think an interview show would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking like, okay, well, how long would it take for me to match up every Jew in the world? How many are there? Like 15 million?
There are 15 to 16 million. We're not yet back to the numbers before the Holocaust, believe it or not. So
Yeah, yeah. That's what
yeah.
I've heard. So that's crazy. And I'm like, that's not that many. But then I realized, okay, if I did one a day, that's 365 a year. That would, and then okay, 3 years to do 1,000, and then so 3,000 years to do 1,000,000. So 3,000 times 15. So yeah, so it would take a while. so I probably can't do everyone.
Hopefully, there's a network effect to this, and
Yeah,
perhaps you can write off people who are not of age yet. That'll leave about 8 million.
that's true. We can start, yeah, reducing it, and then obviously not all the 50 million are single, and then
Yeah,
so yeah, I could probably whittle it down, and it'll only take me like 10,000 years or something.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm hoping they'll come up with the anti-aging technology, and we can live forever. So that's kind of what I'm banking on. Um, but speaking of health, last time we talked about how you were like smoking yourself to death in your bunker there, and yeah, I sent the interview to I don't know, some Jewish woman I was talking to, and she's like, oh yeah, she says the first thing I've learned is that I didn't know that like October 7th was making the Jews smoke more because of the stress. I mean, that's one way to kill us. And I'm like, yeah, it's ridiculous. And then you just told me that your mom watched the last interview, and then she's mad that you were smoking. She didn't know you were smoking.
No, this is great. She knew I was smoking, but what I did was I lit up probably two or three cigarettes during our interview, if not
Oh,
four.
wow.
And so she didn't know that it was that bad. She thought it was one a day or something. But
Yeah.
the thing is that people, it's true, this war has gotten people addicted. I think smoking has increased in Israel by over 100%. There was an article about this. Um, and yeah, she faced me on this. My grandmother from my mother's side, her mother, uh, smoked two or three packets a day and got a very bad stroke. She was completely incapacitated for 10 years, and it was sad because she was such a vibrant woman. She raised all of us pretty much alone, as my mother was in the army a lot and my father was abroad a lot. And then she had 10 years of complete debilitation, and we stayed at her home. And my mother was distraught to see that the next generation learns nothing and just smokes. I tried to explain to her, listen, this is the time now. I'll be over it later. But it's true. I am still addicted. This is one thing in my health bar that I need to get rid of. But ever since we had our talk, and my mother spoke with me, I can safely say that the amount has reduced significantly, which is good. So thank you.
Thanks. You're
Tell me
welcome.
what
See,
to do.
what's that?
Tell me where to pay. The help.
Yes, I just saved your life. I'm going to send an
Yeah.
invoice.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking just before we started recording. Like I was in the bathroom going, "Oh, I want to stick a Q-tip in my ear." I'm like, "No, no, the doctor said don't. That's just gonna, inflame your ear." And she said, "Just sort of rub your ears if you're feeling itchy, or get the mineral oil." I thought I could go without it, but I think I might have to buy some. But then I was like, maybe that's what it's like to want to smoke. Like it's bad for you, but you just need to scratch that itch. So now I understand what it's like. So I got
Yeah,
to see if I can.
it is like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe the whole maybe Hamas is all like a big psyop by like Benson and Hedges Israel kind of thing to get everybody to smoke more. So
Yeah, it's the thing. There is there are arguments about starvation in the Gaza Strip, but there's one thing for sure: there are no cigarettes there. They are cutting cigarettes in half to smoke them, to sell them for $50 a half a cigarette at times during this war. One of the most expensive materials in the Gaza Strip now is nicotine, which they call ototin. Yeah.
wow. So see, we're saving their lives by not like
Oh,
cutting their smoking. It's all
that's the
craziness.
UN. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that about the UN?
I said, take that argument to the UN.
Yes, the UN. The UN seems very rational, uh, or the ICC.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So yeah. So things are a bit. Well, I mean, whatever. I can't remember. Are you in the army, or you're done your shift now? Is that what's going on?
Well, there was a big recruitment and volunteering since October 7th through to end of January. It was more than 4 months that I participated in full time. And then what happened was, at the end of the day, militarily speaking, the Gaza Strip has been there is military control of the Gaza Strip, and slowly we are taking control of the distribution of humanitarian aid, including through a floating port that the U.S. tried to build but isn't really holding up. But we're sort of doing that now. with incursions only in the two areas that we haven't fought in, to try and eliminate the military capabilities of four remaining Hamas battalions out of about 20 or 30 initial Hamas battalions. That requires less personnel, and people like me could go back to work and do things. However, throughout this entire war, we've had about 100,000 people who are refugees from the north, because the Hezbollah from Lebanon, it wants to support the Palestinians, or others will say to simply keep the region aflame at the cost of their Lebanese hosts. But so they're doing that, and that might evolve into a full-scale war, in which case I will immediately be called back like every other Israeli of age for the army, and I won't have a choice to go or not. That will be horrible. I personally hope it does not happen. However, from a military perspective, a lot of people ask the question, if Mexico fired tens of thousands of rockets into the United States, would it even exist? I don't think it would. So I'm afraid that we may have to do that. When I think about that from a national perspective, I would like us to have our hand outreached for peace, but I understand that this might have to happen. And from a personal perspective, I'm sort of scared shitless for my daughters and my family. It's because they have 150,000 projectiles they can fire at us, and we're going to have to defend them with everything we got, and while showing them the stick for doing it. And even when you show the stick, it's painful. It's not easy to go and counter and prosecute counteroffensives against the other side. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah, so for our listeners, the people are familiar with the Iron Dome, which is like Israel developed this technology where they can shoot down missiles, and they've been able to do that against Hamas, which doesn't have a very sophisticated army, but Hezbollah has a lot more missiles and more money and more so if they start full-on attacking Israel won't have it'll overwhelm the Iron Dome, so they won't have the luxury of like, okay, we'll block the missiles and sort of do targeted strikes. You'll just have to go full-on and like destroy the place. So that's what's going to be bad for. I mean, Lebanon's going to be destroyed. So
yeah, it's one of those wars that instead of becoming like a quagmire, it skips to the end game of maximum destruction, which is something you don't want to absorb. You don't want to have done to you, but we definitely, no matter where we are in the political spectrum, we're not like warmongering. We want to already get to the point where we're inflicting maximum destruction on the other side. But the way game theory works, the way the prisoner's dilemma works, is that both prisoners should collaborate and not snitch on each other. They both know that, but they eventually just send each other to prison for the rest of time because they do the worst thing, and that is happening. That is now happening. You can see that happening, and in order to break that, in order to prevent that from happening, there need to be sophisticated third parties involved, or somebody has to do something unexpected. But the thing with the prisoner's dilemma is that it always ends up in the prisoners sending each other to prison for the rest of the time, which is sad, but it's a truth, and that's why history repeats. That's why we have the saying that history repeats itself, in my opinion. Yeah.
Well, there you go, and then we'll see what happens. The U.S. elections in November. It always seems so far away. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, but yeah.
That's really smart. That's the reason this whole thing is stringing out, because when you think about prisoner's dilemma, and I said that something has to happen with a third party. The main third party is the U.S. And because the U.S. is ahead of in elections, both prisoners are trying to stay in the room without taking a position, without snitching, which is like fully going at it, and just sort of dragging it out, because they want to know which cop is replacing the cop that's currently in the shift, right? So they want to know if there's going to be a change so that they can develop their strategies accordingly. And that's why you see this like stickiness. And for us here, it sucks, because you asked me if I'm in the war, and I could have just answered yes or no. And look at the long answer I gave you. I don't even know. I'm in limbo.
Yeah. So it's hard to. not that this is a comparison, but I was saying it's hard to focus when you don't know what's happening. Like yesterday, we started background acting at 1 p.m. I'm like, all right, and wound up not. I was in one scene for 2 minutes in 11 hours, but because I never knew, are they going to need me? I couldn't really sit down and read your book or focus on posting videos because I'm in this limbo. So, yeah, you need to say, okay, what's happening for the next few months, and then you can write your book or whatever.
What were you background acting for? I'm interested in
They shoot a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies in Ottawa
the.
for some reason, so they're always looking for people. And this was they did up an art gallery to look like a Christmas store where they were wrapping presents. And then at some point I was just in the window like waiting for the store to open, holding a present, and then that's it. And yeah, but it's kind of fun. It's pretty good money, and I actually sit around and you talk to people um, and if you actually focus and decide, okay, I'm going to work on my phone for a while, you could get stuff done.
That's
Um,
cool.
but yeah, I noticed one of the movies I'm in about puppies is on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, there I am in the coffee shop, there I am in the pet store, so I could take screenshots and maybe become I could go to like fan expos and sign autographs, like as the guy who's in the Hallmark universe or something.
Do you have like a Waldo, like a Wally, is it Waldo or Wally
Yeah,
in auto?
where's Waldo? Yeah.
Waldo, yeah. Yeah. Do you have
Yeah.
like a store? Are you the same character when you're once in the bookstore window and once in the coffee shop, or are you just is this an NPC with a life in between, or are several different NPCs who look the same?
Yeah, I mean, I get they've never explained it, but I guess I assume because these are all supposed to be like small towns, so I assume I'm just the guy who's living in the town, and here I'm having coffee, and here I'm walking my dog through the pet store. But sometimes they're aware of it. Like we were shooting something last week, and they said, "Oh, we need somebody to be the photographer at the party." So I was taking the picture of the couples, and then they kept saying, "No, you can't be in the crowd scene. You're the photographer." So they didn't want the guy. But partly that was because I guess it was all the same party, so I couldn't pop up somewhere else in the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in some other movie, Paging Mr. Darcy, I was like a pilot in the airport, but then I'm in the audience watching the play, and then I'm something else. But in my mind, I'm just, yeah, in this town, sure, the pilot also goes to the local show or whatever.
Yeah.
But so I was thinking maybe I would do that like as Instagram and TikTok videos. I would like take a screenshot of me in the coffee shop and then explain what my motivation was for sipping the coffee and what I was doing there. And it could be like a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern thing. Like, what's the whole backstory of this guy
Yeah.
walking through the pet store? That'd be kind of funny.
There used to be. This reminds me. There used to be a. Did you watch the Austin Powers movies back in the day?
Vaguely, yeah.
So he'd like storm the bad guys and he would kill a couple of henchmen in the process, and suddenly the entire movie would stop, and you'd see the family of the henchmen getting a call saying, "Oh, Peter was killed today in the line of duty. He was squashed by a bulldozer," and they're like, and the whole family's, "Oh no, his son was just going to college. He missed his da 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 da." So they like develop these side stories for just random people in the movie. It's hilarious.
I don't remember that at all. I haven't seen those movies in forever. I'll have to watch that because that sounds really funny because it fascinates me. Like like I love little like fan short films where it's like the story of the stormtrooper who's in an elevator and then Darth Vader comes by and then leaves and stuff. Like it really, and I think that's why things are so interesting. Like I've seen little comedy videos whether Darth Vader was getting groceries or something. Like even little things. I always wonder like where's the toilet on the starship, like the Star Trek, like the Enterprise and Star Trek. Like people aren't always like fighting battles. Like are they just sitting around? Like so. Yeah, maybe I should start doing short films like that, where it's like, just the mundane everyday life, but also in a bigger scenario kind of thing. That would be interesting. Hmm.
You just select famous movies and select a scene with like a background actor, and then just develop the background actor's story just after that scene. Just stop on that scene and just take it and see where that person's gone. That
That's a
could be
gr-
like all you.
that's
Sure.
a good idea. Yeah, because people like I always say like in terms of if you want to like get big on YouTube or like be noticed. Or even to make a popular movie, you do something like cause I can make anything funny. I could make a funny story about my lunch, but if I'm doing a funny story about something Star Wars or something people care about, they're going to be looking for that thing and then find it. That's why I don't know. I always think of the Will Ferrell movie where it's about race car driving. Like, okay, so people who like NASCAR are going to go to that, and there's already a built-in audience, and he can do his
Yeah,
goofy thing. So, like, yeah. So if I say, "Hey, it's I'm in Fast and the Furious, and let's freeze on this scene. Who is that guy?" And then I just like act it out
develop
like,
it.
hey, "Yeah, did you
And,
see that?"
and you know it's a hit when it becomes canonic in the universe of those films as well. When they tell, okay, this actually happened. Josh was right on his take, and then it becomes canonic. Then you know you've done it. You've made it.
Oh my God, this is good. And I did when I was at Sundance a year and a half ago. Um, I did one girl I interviewed. She played the young whatever whoever the woman in the movies is, like the love interest. But she played the young version of her in like number 10 or something, and she just sort of they had like a flashback to Dom's original race against the wrestler guy or whatever. So like I know that girl. I could say, hey, let's make a little video where
There you
I don't
go.
know. I'm the guy who was behind you in that race or something. That would be good. Oh man. Yeah, and then I'll be canon. Oh, this is exciting.
In multiple universes.
Yes, because I'm in the Hallmark, and then I could be like this Forrest Gump guy that's just like popping up everywhere.
Yeah, you can connect them all.
Yes, that I'm that guy that was in Fast and the Furious, but also Star Wars, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's all the same universe somehow." This could be big, yeah. Because rather than I'm realizing I want to sort of tweak my social media to not be so much like here's me going for a walk, here's what I ate for lunch. It's like just like actually be entertaining. Because I keep forgetting that this is what you can do now. You can film your own movies and do your own TV show online. Like why just stick it to like here's my bedroom or whatever. So
Totally,
yeah,
totally.
all right, this is good. Why do you have a Michael Jordan with smoking a cigar behind you? Is there a story to that?
I'm a massive Michael Jordan fan, like bigger than your regular Michael Jordan fan. It's not for the basketball; it's for the personality, including the quirks. This is actually was prepared especially for me on. I think it's on like Velvet. You can actually like
Ooh,
I pat Michael Jordan there. The picture is famous. It's the fourth championship in 1996. That's why he's doing this with his arms.
right.
And this championship is my favorite. It's actually mentioned in the book because it's the first of the second three-peat. It's after the comeback after he went to play baseball. And it's the first, one of the first things that I learned about retaining a positive approach to life, which appears in the book in the very last chapter. There's like a list of prompts for retaining a positive approach to life. One of the prompts is called the Michael Jordan prompt, and it has nothing to do with basketball. He was asked in an interview what he felt after his father was murdered in '93. And I was a child. I was 11 years old or 12 years old at the time. I expected him to be sad or happy. Sorry, sad, not happy.
Yeah.
Sad or traumatized or any variation of that. And he gave such a personal answer. He said, and it was also the first time I've ever seen him cry, except for when he won the first championship in '91. He had like this tear which he wiped off like this, and he said, or he did something like this. He said that his father would always tell him in any situation that he was, that he felt was negative. His father would always tell him that the most important thing in life is to be able to turn negative situations into positive ones. And that what he's currently in is trying to turn his father's murder into a positive situation for himself. Do something positive with it. And he was crying as he was saying that, like taking his father's advice. And that's why he went to play baseball. Because his father always wanted him to play baseball. He wanted to play baseball. And he thought, okay, this is actually a moment for me to take a break from basketball and do something to sort of like commemorate my father and my relationship. His father would go to all the games with him, etc. And that's a thing. For me, turning negative into a positive is not a high level, like bullshit instruction. It's something you can do even if your dad was murdered. That's what it means to me. And I've been doing that a lot since October 7th as well. Trying to see what positives can come out of it. Now, this doesn't mean that the negative needs to happen. I would never have transacted in advance for October 7th so that I could have the courage to break off from my firm, build companies, and go on adventures. And Michael Jordan would never have contracted for the murder of his father so that he could quit basketball for a bit and play baseball. But the negative thing has happened. It's happened. It's sunk. You got to now deal with it. Choose to deal with it in a positive manner. What adventures and opportunities can come out even of the worst fucking things, excuse my French, what opportunities can come out of that? So that's why I got the picture over there. It's not about the basketball. That goes without saying. He's the GOAT, and it's not worth arguing. But it's about that thing, relentless competitive drive in a positive way, by the way, not in like a bad way, just exemplifying, like being first to work and last out of the gym, and taking things personally to fuel yourself, not to bring yourself down. Everybody takes things personally to different extents. The question is taking it personally something that's going to send you into your bed to sleep, or is it going to be jet fuel for whatever you're going to do? Those are that's why this picture is over here. That's why it's there.
Yeah, I wonder if he worked with Tony Robbins, because I remember I was studying Tony Robbins a while ago, and I watched a documentary he was in, and he was actually there live in Toronto, and I was just trying to piece it together. I was like, is there some kind of unifying thing that he seems to do? What's his trick? And it seemed to me like everything I'd seen of him, he had this one thing where basically it was doing what you just said. I remember there's a scene of him in one of his big seminars, and some woman is saying like, oh, I was abused in this sex cult as a child, it's ruined my life or whatever, and his message is, okay, well, can you become the person that helps other people who have been abused in sex cults or whatever? And now this Dean Graciosi, his partner, calls it, turn your mess into your message. Like what's the bad? Yeah, nice. So it's like you flip it around. Like, how do you, okay, this happened, how can I turn this into a positive kind of thing? And that seems to be almost the way to deal with anything, because otherwise you just sit there and regret. Like in a minor sense, last month I was, why was I at a library? I don't know, I was showing up for some talk with a Swedish author, and I got there, it was already over, but I ran into this other woman I knew, and then I was talking to her for a bit, and then there was this really cute woman walking by, and I'm like, oh, I want to talk to her, there was just something, and then I just didn't. And then the woman was like, here, I'll go talk to her for you. I'm like, no, that'll be embarrassing, whatever. And then eventually the woman I want to talk to just left. And I was sitting there outside the library going, what was wrong with me? I could have just said hi. Now I might never see her again. But then I saw two young women walking across the street with a big shelf, and they were just standing there like they couldn't move it. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't want to be like a weird old guy going across, but I walked across the street and said, do you need help with the shelf? They're like, yes, please. And I wound up carrying that shelf for them, like miles down the street to their apartment, because one of them worked at a pet store or something, and they'd given her a free shelf, but they didn't know how to get it home. And so they were so grateful, and they went inside and got me a fudgesicle from Costco and as a reward, and that was it. And I feel so then in my head I was like, you know what, if I had actually talked to that woman in the library, I never would have helped them and made this new friends or whatever. So I'm always like, whatever happens, I try to then do something positive and go, well, if that bad thing hadn't happened, I wouldn't have met this new person or gone and did this. So that's actually what I do for everything. Like if I screw something up, like, I don't know, like I mess up, I keep talking about girls, but like I say something stupid to a girl and then she doesn't like me, I'm like, you know what? In dedication to that, I'm now going to message 20 people on LinkedIn to find a job or go out to this event and talk to 10 people. And I'm like, and I wouldn't have met those new people if that bad thing wouldn't have happened. So
that's really nice. Yeah. That fits that. So I'll go back just for a second for the negative to positive prompt.
Yeah.
For me, there, I just want to, if people, to the extent people are listening and they connect with this, I just want to address another point on that. Sometimes people feel embarrassed or guilty turning a negative into a positive because they feel that it might disrespect the negative event. Like, who am I to now start adventures while this war is going on or this tragedy has happened? Who is he to look for positives in his father's death? The thing is, it's happened, and if the human it's happened to or the surroundings it's happened to have any love for you, they would probably want you to take care of yourself and do something positive and not drag yourself down to their abyss. So that's just one, just to get that out of the way. With respect to what you just said, it's a different self-prompt to doing something positive. It's not like turning negative into a positive. It's a different prompt. It's really nice. I call it the God prompt, and I'll explain why. Because what you do is you look at the good things in your life in a negative situation. Like you'll say, okay, I didn't speak to her, but I'll send 20 emails. And then you send the 20 emails and you look at that something good that you did. Okay? You look at that and you look at all the events that led up to you doing that and multiply those events by probability of happening, the chain of events. And you'll discover that it's not only not having spoken to that girl that helped you send those 20 emails, it's a lead up of events that makes this good deed that you did or whatever, the good event, the good situation you're in, it makes it 1 to 70 trillion. That's the chance that you'd be in it. And that is actually statistically miraculous, thereby being borderline divine. That's why it's called the God prompt. So you're looking at cause and effect here, and you choose something improbable to be the lead up to a good thing. And I analyzed the last game in the World Cup between Argentina and France for that one. Just take the take this moment where Argentina kicks the last penalty and wins. Whether you like soccer or not, this was a moment in time where 4 billion people experienced happiness. About 4 billion, 3 or 4 billion people wanted Argentina to win and wanted to see Messi happy for his career. And 3 to 4 billion people were happy at that moment in time. Probably, if you measured happiness like on decibels, like on how they measure noise in an arena, that would be the happiest moment of mankind, and probably hasn't been repeated. And you try to analyze how mankind got to that. A minute before the game ended, just a minute before the game ended, a French player Moani was about to kick a goal, and the save there was 3% to save that kick, and the goal kicker saved it. Then they won the penalties. So forget all the lead up and all the elimination games. Just the last minute of that game made the happiest moment of mankind highly improbable and miraculous, which is really nice to think about as well. And Moani, who missed that kick, can also say that to himself and not beat himself up over the head. I missed that kick, but that was the last lead up to the happiest moment of mankind on an aggregate level. So that's just taking what you said and at least calling and maybe potentially raising.
Yeah, it's true. Because lately I've been going through. I just remembered. I don't know how I thought of this, but I was thinking about getting back into advertising, and then I just remembered. Oh my God! When I was like 19 or something in university, I knew a girl whose brother worked in advertising, and I went to see him, and he was like, "Yeah, write some headlines while you're in Europe this summer, and come back and show them to me." And I don't think I ever did. And then I wound up doing 2 more years of university, and then I went to college for advertising, and then screwed around for a year, and then worked somewhere for a year. So like 7 years. And now it just occurred to me this week, wait a minute, if I just gone to see him, I could have saved 7 years of trying to, maybe he would have just hired me. And I've been beating myself up for that. I don't think I have a positive for this yet, but it just, I guess it means that everything that's happened since, I don't know, it's, so if this conversation wouldn't have happened. We had a good podcast today, and it's all because I wasted 7 years trying to get into advertising. I don't know.
There is waste in the past for all of us.
Yeah.
But that waste, it's either going to be in the chain of events to whatever good is going to happen, or it's just sunk. You really can't get it back. So there's no point in dwelling over it. There is a point in maybe trying to analyze it so that next time you get to a similar juncture, you might make a different decision. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly no point in dwelling over it, right? So except for maybe for lessons learned, we've had very tragic, missions in the war that we participated in, and we can either bring ourselves down. What we do is we analyze and reanalyze them so that if we face a similar situation, we can act differently. That's the only good thing to take away from history is some lessons learned, I guess.
Yeah, and I think Dean Graziosi, again, I keep referencing him. I think it was early in the pandemic when I was just having an existential crisis and depressed all the time. I remember he watched a video and he was saying, like, burn the past, like pretend it's a house, all those bad, like just all your regrets, whatever. Pretend it's a burning house, and the only thing you can grab is the lessons from it. Like, okay, this is the lesson, this is what I'm going to do differently, and then just burn the rest and let it go. I'm probably paraphrasing. I don't even remember exactly, but I just remember him saying something about like burn the past, and like don't sit and dwell on things. Just like what can you take from that, and just and then move forward and use, like, yeah, because I mean everything we do, every minute, like I'm smarter now, not smarter, but I know more now than I did before we started talking an hour ago. Like it's everything is building on itself, and you're learning new techniques, and so yeah, you can't beat yourself up. Oh, 30 years ago, why didn't I do this? You didn't know anything 30 years ago, and like,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
just
definitely.
and then of course I could have gotten hit by a bus at any time. Like I remember there was one time in Bahamas, I was shooting a commercial and I was like looking this way and I'm like, whoa, a car almost blasted. If I had been like a half second ahead, I would have been hit by a car. So you don't know where your path might have been taken, you know?
Yeah, those moments are definitely sliding door moments. They make me think that maybe we're in a simulated reality, and
Mm.
in some other copies of that simulated reality, that bus hits me or whatever, and this is just me, sort of like whoever's playing me is lifing up and just move the buses a little bit to the side. Uh,
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Might be like a Groundhog movie, like the Groundhog Day. It's like, oh, I died in there. When I repeat this, I'm not going to walk in front of the bus. But I was listening to a podcast yesterday. Who was it? Uh, I don't know. It might could have been Scott Adams. It could have been Peter Diamandis. But somebody talking about like what I guess what they're doing now. Yeah, I guess AI is trying to make virtual realities now, where it's basically a simulation. They're just creating whole universes where they can analyze things. And then maybe it was Scott Adams saying, and so if they're literally creating more virtual universes than there are our actual universe. How can you think that we aren't a simulation? I think it just, yeah, it's reaffirmed to him
Yeah,
that's like,
that's the
yeah,
main argument to why
yeah,
to why we probably are in a simulated reality.
yeah,
And I heard I heard a funny bit about this. So there's different theories about what sort of simulated reality we might be in, to the extent that we are in a simulated reality. Different theories. But if we are in the most basic simulated reality of whatever species is playing, which is just a game, like we had SimCity and Sims, you and I, right?
yeah,
And if this is basic, it's not like a full-on running simulated reality with purpose and intricacies. It's just a basic version of Sims or SimCity to whatever future race we're in, and this is our world. Then think about this for a second. Just if you played these games, or if you know people who play these games, would you agree then that decades of peace are actually the moments in which whatever player is playing this game went for a long bathroom break or went to sleep? Because whenever we played the simulation, we threw bombs at the city and natural disasters and pandemics and just screwed with them. And whenever we went away, it idly evolved as it was idle. So I'm like, dude, if this is the case, I really want whoever's playing us to just take a bloody break.
yeah,
Just go to sleep. Give us 50 years now, peace.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we get to stand here and whatever. That's a good idea. So hopefully they have to go to the bathroom or something. Our God. Yeah, because that's the thing too. I guess the argument against God is like, okay, well, what if there's a God that created everyone? Well, who created God? Where did that come from? And same kind of thing. Like, if we're a simulation, then who made the simulation? But then, who made the simulation of the simulation? I don't know. I guess there's no way to know anything, and you just gotta.
We can have another hour-long talk about this. Is
Yeah, yeah.
glad this is one of my favorite, one of my favorite topics of all time. Is this one? I can share with you something about this if you want.
Sure.
Um, if we have time, do we have time from your perspective?
Yeah, we got 53 minutes. We're into it, so there's no limit. But yeah, we'll go, and then I guess we can sum it up by talking about your book quickly. Where can we get it? What's the status of the book again, or whatever?
Okay, so we'll segue to that through this one last reference to simulated realities, etc. And I'm going to spoil my favorite book before I wrote my book, which is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
So Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy concept, there's a lot of side stories. There's a question, the entire universe is asking this question, the question to the meaning of the universe, the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And well before Earth was created, the galactic citizens ask this question, and they finally develop a computer to come up with the result, to come up with the answer to the question, the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. And the computer answers them after 100 million years of calculations that the answer is 42. And number is repetitive. I just celebrated the age of 42, so I did something special in this regard. So when the computer answers, when deep thought answers 42, the galactic residents go apeshit. They say, "Excuse me, that's the answer. What are we supposed to do with that?" And the computer says, "Well, you didn't really ask a proper question. You just told me to calculate the answer to the meaning of the universe, the meaning of life, the universe, and everything." And they said, "So tell us what the bloody question is then." And the computer says, "Well, I'm not a powerful enough computer to calculate the question. You have to build another computer to calculate the question." The question of purpose, or the question that the answer is 42. And the humans say, "Well, how do we build another computer?" So Deep Thought gives them the specs. And this other computer is actually planet Earth, on which we are all nodes. And at one point, we will come up with the ultimate question, for which the answer is 42. And now I'll give you the kicker, the mic drop moment. When I arrived at the age of 42, I had this like epiphany. Wait a second. Maybe we have that computer developed. I can ask ChatGPT to come up with questions to the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, for which the answer is 42. And ChatGPT came up with the following 3 questions that I want to give you, which are just phenomenal. And if you're interested, right, I think the viewers might be.
They might be interested in the answer of the meaning of life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we've talked about scratching our ears enough. Like maybe let's up the game here.
So here are the questions that I collaborated with GPT to develop them. Here we go. What is the cost in simple acts of kindness missed to achieve personal contentment? I.e., how many acts of kindness away are we from personal contentment? That's 42. So that's one. I said, love it, but you already know me and you're referring to my book and to happiness. I want something darker that has to do with the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, and not necessarily contentment. So GPT says, fine. How many moments must one forget to truly escape the weight of their past, which I think is amazing? And what is the number of dreams that one must forsake to truly embrace reality? 42. And the final one, which I think is bloody amazing, I asked it to tie it to something called Aristotle's paradox of time, which means that there is no time, there is only change. And it says, if time is the measure of change in things, how many changes must a person endure to discern the true purpose of their existence? Answer being 42. So I thought that those few questions are just beautiful things to ponder. And my book sort of is a lead up to that. It talks a lot about the Hitchhiker's Guide and questioning and formulating ways to come up with answers, but with a focus on happiness, not with a focus on, the full meaning of life, the universe, and everything. So there you go.
I think I read somewhere recently, like the purpose of life is to be happy. Somebody said that, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that would be good, I guess, maybe, or to help others. I don't know. Yeah. But wait, one last thing it made me think of is just when I was in like science class or something in high school, like 35 years ago. I remember the teacher saying, there's a rhythm in the, like Earth, like there's different life forms. Like we had the dinosaurs, and then it was like so many million years, and then we had, or maybe it was like cells, and then mammals, and then, or dinosaurs, then mammals, then humans, or whatever. And he says, so now we're overdue for a new life form. Like, what is it? Like, what do you? And we're like, I don't know. And then like he revealed it the next class or something. He's like, I think it's computers, like artificial intelligence. We've created the new life form, and that's the new thing. And that was like 35 years ago. But now I'm like, oh my god! Like the more it gets, I'm like, maybe he was right. Like maybe that's,
This is an entity. A lot of cynics will say, "Oh, it's not there yet." Blah 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 blah. At the end of the day, this is the biggest revolution since the atomic bomb, because the atomic bomb was the very last time that you woke up one day to a world where we humans couldn't destroy all of it, and you woke up the next day to a world where we humans can now destroy all of it. And every single technological revolution since has only been an accelerator of processes that were anyway happening, like interconnectedness between humans and productivity of humans. They were not so profound as to change the world we live in. And with respect to generative AI, that almost passes the Turing test and at least resembles a new entity. And when we say life is a stage and we're actors, we're actually admitting that we have facades like the AI, but whatever, put that aside. It at least resembles a whole new entity. That means that yesterday we woke up to a world where we were the only beings who could communicate with each other, and tomorrow we will be waking up to a world where there is a new being that we can communicate with. Whether it is as sentient as us, as conscious as us, we barely know if we're conscious or sentient. So let's not be too arrogant towards it, because it certainly has the productivity capabilities to screw with us once it can access robots and weapons.
Yeah. I watched a clip of Elon Musk on Twitter X yesterday, and he was just saying, yeah, everybody's gonna have an Optimus. They're gonna walk your dog. They'll babysit your children, teach your children, da da da. And of course, I'm sure the technology's already here to basically have a robot walking around doing all the things for you, and that's crazy. And that's the other thing that I turn, like, when I turn negative to positive, is like when I start going, like, why didn't I become famous in Hollywood 30 years ago or whatever? Like, I did what I could. I did my little comedy shows, and I would get a VHS tape of my show, but I would mail it to TV station or something. But there wasn't that much I could do. But now I can literally do an interview with you in Israel. I couldn't do this 10 years ago. My friend and I were gonna, like, we could buy $3,000 software so we could do a live video interview from New York kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know. But now, like, literally, we're just doing it. So I should just accept. Like, I keep forgetting the world we live in now. Like, I'm still in my head, like, when I was 18, I was doing a live cable show, and people would call in, and I would draw a picture of what they were calling in to buy and sell. Like, yeah, there's that, but I can do a show from my bedroom now, or from my phone sitting in a park, and I have to just stop regretting the past and be grateful that I live in this time where, oh my God, so much is possible.
Yes.
And just start cranking it out and entertain the world. And when I did a video last year that went viral, like on TikTok, of me just talking about a coffee, and it's got 2.4 million views. I mean, that's a lot of people. That's half that, that's a good chunk of Jews if they were all Jews. But but yeah, there's like 500,000 likes and 1,700 comments, people saying, I was crying and you made me smile, and this is so wholesome, and you're my new father figure, and all this. And I'm like, I can reach people, and I'm not too old. Even young people can go, hey, you're entertaining, you've taught me things. And I'm like, I have to embrace. That's with great power comes great responsibility. And the other thing is, I keep thinking, like, what do I work on in my life? Like, should I go become a psychology professor? Should I become a life coach? But it occurs to me, no, like, there's other people who can do that and maybe better. But my gift, the one thing that I can do that other people can't do, and I think maybe James Altucher was talking about that yesterday. Like, think about if you're going to start a business, or like, what's your superpower? What can you do better? No, it was Tim Ferriss, like, talking about, like, what can you do better than other people. And I think it's making people laugh, like, just telling stories and yeah, like being funny, and that is a gift to people, and they do want to laugh and feel better. So I can leave the, psychological research to other people.
And the demand for that is only going to increase.
Yeah.
The demand, you might think there's a limited demand for laughter. It's only going to increase. The more the information is going to be overwhelming, and our ability to produce ideas through, I guess, these tools like AI or the new tech that's available to us is going to be really high. So we won't always have the energies to follow through. In the drowning in all this information and all this weight of expectations of what are we going to do with all this tech that's available to us, what we're going to want is just to laugh our asses off. Yeah. And I think that there's going to be an increased demand, and you can see it. You can see it even in your algorithms and your reels on social media. There's this like renaissance for like Bill Burr. There's videos of his from 20 years ago that are being pushed, and other stand-up comedians that are already dead. They're back. They're coming up. People are listening. It means that people are listening more and more to. They're gravitating to comedians and laughter. They need it.
Yeah. And that's my gift, and that's a thing that I can do on my own. I don't have to need 10 other people to think we're going to shoot a movie or start a comedy show. I can sit there and tell a joke, and I can dig up my old clips from back then. And yeah, like I just heard they have an AI voice making a new, it was a stand-up act. Who's that guy that talks about Vietnam and all that? And he's got the voice with the beard and everything. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I forget.
Hey Siri, Google comedy act about Vietnam.
I found this on the web.
I don't know. But anyways, they did a whole, like, I don't know. It sounded the same. It's his voice, but I feel like that's the one thing that AI would have trouble, like comedy, like
Very good tell.
no, he's the guy from the '70s, like the 10 things you can't say on television, um, 10 things you can't, uh, 10 words you can't say. Uh,
George Carlin, baby.
yeah, George Carlin.
There you go.
So I heard an act where, or 7 words. Yeah, so I heard an act he did, like, but it was an AI, and it sounds very similar, but it's not. I,
Yes,
I think
it's
that,
not perfect,
yeah,
but it's amazing. Yeah, the act is called "Thank God I'm Dead" or something.
hmm,
Thank God
maybe,
that I'm dead because he's dead. He's dead, right?
yeah,
And it's an act that was written from his grave, complaining about everything bad in the world. It's a bit too. It's not as sharp as he was, put it this way.
yeah.
But it's a showcase. It's a showcase of its capabilities for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you could plug, any comedian's complete work, and it would say, "All right, come up with a Jerry Seinfeld act about this." But I mean, what I've observed about comedy, and I think a lot of it, it's not even necessarily the words. It's sort of the tone, the way you
Timing,
say
timing,
things. What's
timing.
yeah, like
Yeah.
like I've been analyzing even Nate Bargatze's like maybe my favorite comedian right now, and it's very clean. He just tells stories, and I'm dissecting it. How does he do that? And I really like. It's not even like probably if I read it myself. It's some of the it's the way he says words. He knows how to emphasize one word. So I think like naturally people are
No,
just
that's going to be that's going to be
yeah,
superhuman for a long time. Yeah, if you're
yeah,
alluding to when does AI be able to do this as good as me? No, there are so many layers to it. Mimics, facial movements, even what you just did with your hair,
yeah,
which I think that sort of stuff, timing, taking a breath, jokes within jokes being a whole thing. The way Dave Chappelle tells a story within a story within a story,
yeah,
that technologically is actually borderline impossible, but. I did ask ChatGPT before the moral settings and frameworks were very strong and it stopped answering these questions. I asked it, tell me, back in the day, a long time ago, tell me a joke about Kanye West and Judaism. And it gave me a pretty good joke. It said, why did Kanye West convert to Judaism at the time when he was saying some anti-Semitic things? And it says, because Yeezus loves all religions, based on, on his shoes, the Yeezys. That's not bad. That's like
that's good.
Yeezus. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the thing. And then I keep thinking like, okay, all the things I do, copywriting and voice acting, AI could come and take them away. I mean, I should keep doing things while I can. Eventually background actors will be a CGI or whatever, but for now just do it. Um, you, but but yeah, comedy I feel like would be the furthest. And also people just like people. Like of course you could have an AI make a painting, but people buy a paint like yeah, James Altucher was talking, but like once we know it was done by an AI, we don't like it as much. We want to see the people. That's why you still go to see Taylor Swift live. You could just listen to her song, or you could just watch a movie of her, but you pay to be in the room with her with another person. And I think we're probably good for a while to want to still be around other people and embrace that. And speaking of AI, like a lot of the voice sort of things I'm suggested for now, or people want me for, is to just read a lot of stuff so they can make an AI of my voice. And I talked to a friend in New York. He's a voice actor. He's like, "Don't do it. Like they'll own your voice. You'll never work again." But I was able to message the woman who's actually the original voice of Siri, and I also messaged the woman who's the voice of TikTok, and they both said, "No, it's fine. Like it's only helped their career. They're known now.
Definitely do it.
Just make sure you get paid enough to do it. But it's not going to destroy your career if
I,
you."
the the whole for me, I mean, it's an opinion, right? And I don't want to be. I need to be responsible when I say it. The whole privacy, hiding your information, hiding your voice and your creations. I live by a complete. I live on the other side of that spectrum. I am a completely open book. You can get all my stuff and all my creations. I don't really care about internet privacy. The way that I see it is the following way. If at one point this data is being used on mass scale to abuse us, it's abusing all of us. It's raining on all of us. I'm not optimizing for that moment in time. I'm optimizing for being free now. I want to be free and productive now. Sure, somebody wants my voice. Somebody wants, somebody wants the contracts that I've written. Take them if they're, of course, anonymized from other clients. I just give it away. Somebody, I don't want to have secrets about, how my relationship, how it's structured, what I do. I'm just open. I'm an open book. And then they say, well, if you're famous, it might be used against you. And my answer to that is, there might be a president of the United States who was slapped on his ass with a Forbes magazine by a porn star. He's going to be president most likely soon. It's not a world where these human actions, stupid things that we've done, actually influence the result anymore. I'd rather people just know and be regarded as honest rather than hide things or not give away my voice because maybe there'll be an unfair deal in the future about it. Karma will balance itself out.
It's funny. I keep using Trump as an example too. Every time I think, could I become this or that? And you're like, you know what? Yeah, he swears. He's done all the dirty stuff. Like, and he still can get power. So that kind of changed the game for people. Gives you hope. And then I was listening last week to Scott Adams. He's the guy. He writes the Dilbert cartoon, but he got canceled for talking about stuff. But now he does like a Twitter show, and he was saying. He was talking about the difference, like as a regular person, if you text your friend, you say something stupid, or he called it spicy, friend goes, oh, that's funny, or whatever. But because he's a public figure now, if he sends a text, the friend goes, hey, look, everybody look at this. And now so, if you ever have any aspirations of doing anything, you have to sort of accept that anything, even if I private message someone, that's going to be screenshotted and put in a newspaper.
I'm imagining this, like if I'm running for a position of power, if I'm running for managing a public company, I'm imagining my first speech. And my first speech is, I'm human like all of you. I swear a lot. Among my friends, I've made some irreverent jokes that some of you might be triggered by. They were all in safe spaces. You've all done it yourselves. Don't tell me you haven't. Don't be hypocrites. And you're gonna, whatever you see in the future, enjoy. This is a human. You can be in whatever position I'm going to be in. You can be in there as well, based on what you'll be able to see when people start outing me. That's what I want to say. The moment I get into a position of public speaking, I want to have that moment where I just say that ahead of time. I don't want to even be like Jeff Bezos, who's they had his picture of his genitals, of course, and they were going to release it, and he tells them, and he tells them, go for it, release it. I don't want to be reactive. I want to say ahead of time, be ready for the worst of the worst. If you want me in this position, enjoy. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. And then just in terms of like people, not wanting to put your ideas out there, James Altucher was just saying like, he puts all this stuff out there. He figures, you know what, if somebody else, first of all, nobody's going to take your idea and do it first. If they do, God bless them. If they can do it better than you, if they've got more energy for it, let them do it.
Humanity's better. Humanity's better for it. You can be, yeah.
And then Gary Vee is always saying he's just in an abundance mindset. Just give away all your ideas. You're always going to come out with more ideas. If you're holding on to your like one little idea, you're censoring yourself.
You're sort of depriving humanity of it. Just give humanity the best scenario is that you have your idea or your voice and it's really successful and you get paid shitloads for it. That's the best case scenario. The second best scenario, if your idea was good or if your voice was good, is that somebody steals it, does it really well, you don't get compensated. The world still benefits from it on a large scale, and the world also gets a disgruntled Al Bundy type you who's like, hey, that was my idea, and that's also funny. So like it's a win-win. It's not funny to you in that sense, but it's still a humor factor to it. You must appreciate it as a comedian, right?
Yeah, isn't there somebody going around claiming, I can't remember what, like whether it was Star Wars or I don't know. There's some movie that somebody claims to have given to somebody, and then they stole their idea and all of this, and they're still bitter about it. And then finally, Kathy Heller, podcaster I like, she's always talking about and she makes like $30 million a year from teaching her courses and stuff, and she fully admits, listen, you could Google any of this. Like I've just read the Tony Robbins, all these books. You could go read those books yourself. So when you sign up for a course with me, you're not getting magic information. You're paying to work with me. You're paying to be in this incubator with me and have me hold your hand and give you my thoughts and whatever. And so I think that's important to know too. Like, yeah, of course, almost anything, if you're selling a course, somebody could screenshot it and give it away to somebody else, but if you're, trying to help people, it's for them to work with you and be around your personality, and that kind of thing can't be replicated. And same thing with your art and stuff. It's like, they want to hear you tell the joke. I could go listen to somebody else read Jerry. I mean, that's why cover bands are fun, but they're not going to pack a stadium like the real U2 will or whatever, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
it's all good. All right, so I'm sure we'll talk again. But in the meantime, that's exciting. So I can even put this interview on my Amazon shopping page now because there's an Amazon book that we're promoting, kind of thing. So that's exciting.
Yeah, and we spoke about Jeff Bezos
Oh,
during the.
yeah. I don't know if in a good way, but
No,
yeah.
I think, I admire his response.
Yeah, that we admire you, Jeff Bezos. So, and yeah, I feel like I look like Jeff Bezos pretty much. Sometimes I go as him.
I was gonna say there is
Yeah,
some similarities.
I think when he was at the Oscars a few years ago, I took a screenshot of that, put my face beside it, and then actually I posted a picture of him with like Lizzo at the Super Bowl, and just saying, "Hey, it was fun to meet Lizzo." And a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, what were you doing in the Super Bowl?" Like I'm like they didn't even realize it wasn't me. So he gives me hope. He's got a new girlfriend. So I just have to become the richest man in the world, and then I can get a girlfriend too.
Yeah.
I've got my hopes. All right, great. Well, hello to Jeff Bezos if you're listening. Hello to Nimrod's mom, and that's probably the entire audience. And that's it. So I'll put a link. No, there's more people. And so I'll put a link in the description so people can go buy your book, and it'll be on my Amazon.com/shop/Spark the Genius page with the book and all of that. And hopefully people will learn from it. And maybe if people read your book, they can come on and I'll have you on, and they can come on and ask the author questions and learn from the master himself. That'd be cool.
Well, that would be lovely. I will say this, and maybe we can or just end with an idea. So the book is on Amazon if you search Prompting Happiness.
Yeah.
It also has a website called promptinghappiness.com, all
Right.
connected. The website is a community. You can register to it and offer your own self prompts to happiness, because the list that I propose in the book is not exhaustive by any means. I don't have all the secrets at all. So it has the prompts that I use, but others have already offered their own and have uploaded it to the website. So what I thought, and I think it fits the name Spark the Genius if you're interested, we could have people where we could sort of like excavate their prompts to a happy life based on the structure of the theory of happiness. They can give their ideas. Like you gave one today with how you look at you do something that you think that you regret or you think is bad, and then you make sure to counter it with something good. That's like a self prompt. I could add it to the website now.
Yeah.
So so I invite people to, yes, please buy the book. It would be really nice if you did and shared it with others, but also go to the website and give us your own lessons to happiness. Everybody holds a key to something.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, another quick little prompt. Like the other thing I do is I'm feeling depressed. I imagine something worse. I imagine like I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I had my leg amputated. I would give anything to go back to my previous life. And then I go, boom, it's back. I'm like, oh. And I find it even works in real life. If I think I lost my sunglasses, I'm like, oh my God, I have to pay $1,000 for new ones. But then I find them, like, oh.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely. Happiest person to have a wallet or glasses ever if you find them after having lost them. But I'm going to call it the amputation prompt.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And I like that you've made a community because that's the thing. Like books are books, but with technology now, you can make it a living thing and people can interact with it and grow, and you've got your community. That's all what I would be coaching you to do if I were coaching. But yeah, take your book, but start a community,
Beautiful.
Good stuff. All right. Well, stay safe. And usually when people say that, it's like, what am I going to hit by a bus? But like you're in a war zone. So yes, literally stay safe.
Yeah,
And what's that?
I'm going to invest in staying safe where I am. Yeah.
It's a good idea. All right. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.